Ladies and gentlemen, we are finally here. March Madness is here. I'm not sure yet when this video is going to be officially published, but March Madness will either start tonight or tomorrow night as you are watching this. Not sure if it's going to go up Monday night or Tuesday morning / afternoon, but it is time for me to do my final official bracket. 2 weeks ago, I did my brackets predictions, and you guys love that. I appreciate sincerely all the support and love you showed towards that. I didn't do one last week. I was on my spring break and I had my laptop with me. Wanted to kind of chill for a little bit, so I hope you guys are cool with that. I should have been doing more. I should have done at least 2 predictions in an official bracket, but next year I'll be better about that. But now we have a bracket, finally, an official bracket, which I'm going to go over. This video is going to be a lot longer than what we've seen. I know the past has usually been like 25-30 minutes. This one, I think, is going to be longer. I have a lot to say about each team. There's going to be so much dialogue, and I want you guys to get engaged with it. So leave a bunch of comments. I'll try and respond to a lot of them. But another side note, as you can see with the All Sports Culture March Madness Live Bracket Challenge, we did this last year. I think we got around 40 to 50 people to do it. It was a lot of fun. If you guys remember, if you're an OG and you watched the videos last year, I had Illinois winning it all. That didn't go well, lost in the round of 32 to Loyola Chicago. But we had 40 to 50 people, and already off the bat, we put it on our Instagram for a couple hours now. All Sports Culture. It has 45 members, which is awesome. And I'm assuming I'll put the link in the description down below. I'm assuming a lot of you will join as well, which I would appreciate. It'll be a lot of fun. And here's the catch with it. First, there's a $100 prize if you get first place, which obviously, who's not going to like that prize, offer that incentive. But second, and I think is a more comical one, we'll probably put this on YouTube as well, but on IG Live, however many people finish ahead of me in the All Sports Culture chat or in this bracket challenge, as you can see, my name is ASC Kurt. However many people finish ahead of me is how many chicken nuggets I have to eat on IG Live. So let's say I get 45th place out of the 45 members so far. I'd have to go on All Sports Culture IG Live and eat 45 nuggets. The more people that join, the more likely I'm going to have to eat more nuggets. So make sure you join. It's going to be a lot of fun. As you can see, I'm not done my bracket yet. Thought about it. I think I know what I'm going to go with here. It's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, like I said, make sure you like, subscribe, follow us on Instagram, All Sports Culture. You know, it's going to be a lot of fun. So here we go. We are starting the bracket off. Gonzaga and Georgia State. As an App State student myself in the Sun Belt, I've watched this Georgia State team a lot, and they are a very solid team. But when you're going up against Gonzaga, a team that went to the national championship last year, led by Chet Holmgren and Drew Timme, you're not going to win against Gonzaga pretty easily. And I think everyone will agree with me on that one. Boise State and Memphis, a great matchup. I think it's been one of the best matchups of the first round. Boise State, the #1 seed in the Mountain West Conference. And I want to talk more about these Mountain West teams when we get to the other ones in there. But I think it was 4 Mountain West teams that made it. Colorado State, Boise State, San Diego State, maybe just 3. Maybe I'm forgetting one, but we'll get there. It just goes to show the Mountain West is fantastic this year. A lot of fun seeing all these teams make it and showing the support out west. So props to the Mountain West having that many teams in the tournament. And Boise State, a team that beat San Diego State on Saturday, I believe it was, in the Mountain West Championship. What a great game that was. I bet Boise State cashed it home, but in this game, I'm going to go with Memphis, a team led by Jalen Duran. Penny Hardaway's got his squad playing great basketball at the end of the year. What we always say about March, you got to be hot when you get into January, February, and March, and that is exactly what Memphis has done. I know they lost in the American Championship to Houston, and we'll talk about Houston when we get there, but beat them twice in the regular season, and a Memphis team that a lot of people had in their top 25 to start the year, but a team that I think won't get past the second round, but a great matchup and a game to watch against Boise State. Uconn and New Mexico State. A lot of people aren't going to like this, but I'm going to go with New Mexico State. And here's my biggest thing. Yes, a lot of people have forgot about Uconn, and a lot of people are craving for a Uconn-Arkansas second round matchup, which in my opinion and so many other people's opinions would be one of the best matchups of March Madness. But that's the beauty of it. And I heard a great quote. I can't remember who I saw it from. So if you're watching this, give credit to yourself in the comments. But in all honesty, you just got to go with your gut feeling sometimes. You can look into the analytics and you can look into how teams have been trending going into March, and that matters. But with this 12-5 matchups, I'll get into that when we talk more about the 12-5s. I need a 12-5 upset. And look, I'm not just saying like I need to pick a 12-5, which is strictly the only reason why I'm going like with this pick, but a New Mexico State team that seems to usually make March Madness, a New Mexico State team that has two prolific players on their team offensively, and a team that I think will upset a Uconn team. Look, that runs the question with Danny Hurley. I mean, obviously he played Maryland in March Madness last year as that 7 seed. A lot of people thought they would make it far, lost in that first round. I think I said first seed. I meant to say first round. But New Mexico State, I mean, I think they're going to give UConn another loss in March Madness. UConn fans aren't going to like this. I know I have a good friend by the name of Adam who says, you know, I like to make him mad by not picking UConn. But in all honesty, I think New Mexico State is going to win this game. Arkansas, Vermont. Some people are going to take Vermont because Vermont blew everyone out of the water in their conference tournament. And they are a very great team. Jake Marsh, the future. Everyone knows his involvement with Vermont, if you guys know about Barstool and the Bench Mob podcast that he does. But Vermont is a very solid team. He's talked praise about them, but this Arkansas team is a team to watch, a team that got hot and made the Elite Eight last year. And I think this year they're going to make a lot of noise in March Madness. I'm excited to see Arkansas. They are another team that is getting hot. The must bus, get on it. Bama and Rutgers and Notre Dame. I'm going to go with Rutgers to beat Notre Dame, and I think Rutgers get past Bama. It's going to be a popular pick, betting against Bama, but sometimes you just got to go with the public. A Bama team that has struggled all season long, except for their win against Gonzaga, but a Bama team that has struggled especially lately. In the SEC, they have not played well. I get that's the SEC, probably the best conference this year, but I'm going to go with Rutgers and a team that has been super hot. They have a lot of great quad one wins. I know it's their losses that have been alarming, but it's evident in the Big Ten how good they have been. And that's why I'm taking them here. Texas Tech and Montana State. I'm going to go Texas Tech. A little bit of concern with Texas Tech. I know they made the Big 12 final and they played Kansas. A lot of people love this Texas Tech squad, and it makes sense. I mean, Texas Tech, one of the best teams at home, one of the best balanced teams, I would say, in the country. And they're going to probably have no problem with Montana State, but Texas Tech is a team I think people are too high on per se. And we'll talk about that when we get more into the bracket. Michigan State and Davidson. I'm going Michigan State. A lot of people have Davidson win this game. I saw Michigan State absolutely kill it in the Big Ten tournament. I know they had their struggles against Maryland, couldn't get out of the press necessarily in that game, but you see what they did in the games after that. They were very dominant in the Big Ten. I know they can get to the final. But even before that, it was a very, very solid Michigan State team. And I think a Tom Izzo in March is something you just really can't bet against. A Davidson-Duke second round matchup would be a lot of fun to watch. But instead, I think we're going to get a rematch of the Zion 19 year when that Duke team faced off against Michigan State in the Elite Eight. I think that's what we're going to get. But yeah, I think Duke's going to win that game. Like I just said, Duke, probably one of the most talented rosters in the country with Paolo Banchero, AJ Griffin, Trevor Keels, but at the same time, they really haven't seemed to click. Even in the ACC tournament, getting to the final against Virginia Tech, a team that can shoot. And Duke's biggest problem, in my opinion, is their lack of experience, which we saw, like I said, with that 2019 squad with Zion, RJ, and Cam. That was a very great team, but that was the biggest concern with that team. And I kind of think you can make the case. Like their most experienced player is Theo John, and that you have to go back to your Marquette days to get some experience there. So Duke is a wild card. They have the talent, and they have the coaching. Will it all click? We'll find out. Moving up, that is what we have. Oh, move it down, excuse me. Baylor, Norfolk State. Baylor, no question about it. Scott Drew, I mean, we saw he won it last year. He's a great coach and a great squad on that Baylor team. UNC Marquette. You guys are going to hate this. I'm going Marquette. A lot of people like this UNC team, and I think that is a recipe. Don't want to say for a disaster, but that's where I think people are going to get it wrong. You got to sometimes bait the public, even though it doesn't make sense. And I think this Marquette team, because of how well they started, I think they can find that in this game against UNC. UNC, a very inconsistent team. I know they lost to the ACC winners, Virginia Tech, but that was a bad display for them. Are we going to get the UNC, the Armando Bacot that we saw against Duke? If so, they can easily compete with Baylor in the second round. But I think Marquette in this game is going to win against UNC, but it's a tough draw against a Baylor team, which we'll talk about in the second round. St. Mary's in Wyoming, IU. I think IU will win this game, but As the great Rico Bosco of Barstool says, Wyoming is not a team to sleep on, and I completely agree. That'll be a great matchup, but St. Mary's takes this. St. Mary's is a team that is a lot of fun to watch. They draw comparisons to Wisconsin, and I think the St. Mary's team, a team that beat Gonzaga in the WCC earlier this year and went to the final against them and played them pretty tough. I know the scoreline doesn't necessarily display that, but a good effort from them, and it's hard to beat a team twice in a year, as we've always heard in the years past. I think St. Mary's will get it done, and a lot of people are going to take that upset of Wyoming IU over St. Mary's. I'm not falling for that trap. UCLA, Akron, UCLA, I think has the potential to make it far. I think a lot of people weren't high on UCLA because they were like, oh, the only reason why they're in this tournament or why they have such a high seat to start the year, they got that 2 seat to start the year, was because of the run in the Final Four. But they bring everyone back from that team last year, basically. And I think UCLA is going to be a hot team. Say what you want about the Pac-12, but that's going to be a great matchup. St. Mary's, UCLA in the second round. Texas VT. Look, remember when people said Texas was the best team in the country to start the year? Hasn't worked out that way. And Chris Beard, it looks like a silly decision going from Texas Tech to Texas. But VT, I kind of draw comparisons to Georgetown. Look, VT is a lot better than Georgetown. I meant the Georgetown team that was the 12 seed last year that lost to Colorado State in the first round. Or Colorado, excuse me, not Colorado State. But this Texas team, I think they're going to handle business against VT. I think VT was a little bit of a run we saw in the ACC tournament, and props to BT though. Storm Murphy is a fun player to watch, and everyone else that's a part of that team. But BT, I think their magical run ends here, and it's crazy because they had to win that last game to solidify their, appearance in the NCAA tournament. We'll talk about Texas A&M. I guess we can talk about that now. Texas A&M made the SEC final, didn't get in though, and you had to win that game to get in. I feel like it'd be kind of the same with BT. But they are in. Props to them. Pure joy we saw on the court when they beat Duke. That was a lot of fun to watch. Texas, though, we obviously know Marcus Carr. Everyone else on that team, Texas is a team to watch. Timmy Allen, they're a great squad. Even though it really hasn't clicked this year, I'm a fan of Texas still. Will they be good enough to beat Purdue? Which I think Purdue beats Yale. We'll see. We'll get there, though. Murray State in San Francisco. Murray State is really, really good. Like, do not get that twisted. Murray State, shout out their head coach, went to App State. Got to give always an App State shout out when I can, if you know what I mean. San Francisco, though, like I said, with the out west in the WCC, San Francisco was a big focal point of why that was a relevant conference, I guess, per se, this year. San Francisco's a really solid team. But I think Murray State handles business here. I think San Francisco's a little bit on the overrated side, but I think it's more so Murray State's going to win this game because of how dominant they are. I think Kentucky's going to beat St. Peter's. Who cares? They're losing anyway. If you go to St. Peter's, I'm really sorry. I think that's what it is. Maybe St. Petersburg. I don't want to pick them. I don't know if we can get info on them. They are St. Peter's. Yep, I know my stuff. Auburn, Jacksonville State, Auburn, USC, Miami. I'm going to go Miami here. USC is a weird team out in the Pac-12, but they just scream a team that I think could lose early. 6th seed last year, beat Kansas in the round of 32. But I think Miami made some noise. I know they had that game against Duke where they were pretty competitive. Started the year second in the ACC, won a game in Cameron. This Miami team, very unpredictable. When they're on, they are on. Wisconsin, Colgate, Wisconsin. They're not losing to a toothpaste company. LSU, Iowa State. Iowa State was unbelievable to start the year. They're out of conference. But in conference, we talked about this. Not a solid squad. I think they were 6-8 the last time we talked, and I couldn't even remember what they finished in the conference play, but it was not good, I can tell you that. But an LSU team that just lost their head coach, Will Wade, based on allegations he's done in the past. And I think this LSU team, defensively, we loved them last year, and they're still a very solid defensive team. Not going to buy an LSU this year. I think Iowa State takes that 11-6 upset. Providence, South Dakota State, as the good John Rothstein said on the Part of My Take podcast, South Dakota State is one of the most underrated and prolific shooting teams in the country. And anyone can agree to that if you watch them play the Jackrabbits per se. But this Providence team led by Ed Cooley, I think Providence is getting very valued, underrated per se. Look, go on KenPom. I see their luck factor. We talked about this last time on this YouTube video, but Providence is still a very solid team and a team that got blown out by Creighton in the Big East tournament. I get that per se, but Providence, I think everyone's going to take San Diego State, but I'm going to take Providence actually. South Dakota State, you pair them up. I think South Dakota State would win against an Illinois. I think they could beat Arkansas and they maybe would beat UCLA. And they probably, and that's why I think a lot of people think they're going to beat Providence. Excuse me, because Providence, I guess, is a little bit on the overrated side. South Dakota State on the underrated side, but I'm going to go with Providence here. Iowa, Richmond. Richmond would not even be here without a upset they got against Davidson in the conference championship. But Iowa is one of the best teams in the country. That 5 seed should be a 3 or should be a 4. Keegan Murray is National Player of the Year. Let's argue that. Creighton, San Diego State. San Diego State's a fun team to watch that I watched, like I said, in the Mountain West Championship. San Diego State usually finds their way in here. I think a lot of people will take Creighton here because, look, Coach McDermott, Sean McDermott, has done a great job, and I think it's been his best coaching performance of his whole career. But I think a lot of people are going to realize that, take what they can get with the three-pointing and how three-point shooting and how good they were in the Big East tournament. Give me San Diego State. And then Kansas will take care of whoever, Texas Southern and Texas A&M, Corpus Christi, I think it is. Well, it just gives us Texas Southern, so whatever. Nova, Delaware, I'll go with Nova. Jay Wright does not lose in these instances. Ohio State, Loyola. Everyone and their mom's going to be on Loyola because of Sister Jean. And don't get me wrong, a part of me is saying it's always Loyola. It always will be. But I think people are underestimating this Ohio State team. Will they get to the Sweet 16? Probably not. But I think this Ohio State team led by a top 15 player in the country, E.J. Liddell, it's going to make noise. I mean, they didn't last year, and I think they want to at least win a game. Obviously, their whole goal is to win the whole thing, but I think they're at least going to strive to get that one win like they didn't get last year against Oral Roberts. There it is. I was so close to taking Longwood here, and you guys would have flipped your shit at me in the comments section, which makes sense because Tennessee to end the year was unbelievable. It's the SEC champions at home, defensively, offensively, say what you want. And look, I want to say I was completely wrong on the last video. I said Tennessee beat UNC in the last video, and I was wrong. I got things confused. They lost to Villanova and killed UNC to start the year. I was more so explaining myself, talking about Villanova when they had struggles, but they've gotten drastically better, this Tennessee team. I take responsibility for not knowing enough about them. So you volunteer fans, I'm sorry in the comments for not knowing enough about your team. And trust me, I know enough about them now. Now you ask, you're praising them now, Kurt. Why'd you almost take Longwood? They screamed to me a Texas last year team, a Texas team that was 9th in the country and almost was deserving of a 2 seed, won the Big 12 championship. Say what you want about that Big 12 championship, was a little weird. I know the whole tournament as a whole was weird last year, but Abilene Christian, much better the team than Longwood. If Tennessee, though, I'm serious, if it was let's look at these 14 seeds. If it was Yale or Colgate, I'm maybe taking Tennessee. And you guys are going to hate me for that. I'm sorry, volunteer fans. Longwood, though, they have good things to like about them. Haven't watched too much about them, but based on kind of what I've briefly seen, Longwood is probably, I would say, one of the worst of the 14 seeds. So I think Tennessee will take care of business. 17.5-point favorite come that day when they're taking on Longwood. Tennessee, though, we'll see how far I get them. Michigan, Colorado State. And here, before I start, I want to bring up something cool on oddschecker.com, which I'm going to link this article in the description below because it is a great article. And in it, Matt McEwen, I think that's how you pronounce your name, had a great thing that he was talking about when I was reading it. And he was like, look, say what you want about this Michigan team. A lot of people did not think they deserved to get in, which I completely agree. They did not. Well, I don't want to say completely agree, but I think people can say they didn't deserve to at least have not a playing game. They deserve to have a playing game. But this Michigan team is still very solid. Like, let's not get that twisted. Hunter Dickinson was going to be one of the best players was one of the best players in the country. And a lot of people thought that he would lead this Michigan team to a really high seed and then another 11 seed. But this Michigan team, do not sweep on them. Now, as for Colorado State, the guy in the article mentions David Roddy. David Roddy is an amazing player, Mountain West Player of the Year. Colorado State is not a team to sleep on, but if he was betting, and I'm going to agree with them, he went with Michigan with the -2, I believe was the spread. Check out his article. Check out Odds Checker in the link below. I'll link it so you guys can check it out. But yeah, I'm going Michigan here. Chattanooga, Illinois. This is going to be I don't know what I just said right there. Chattanooga is going to be one of my bigger upsets. I love this Chattanooga team. Illinois has a lot of question marks about them. I know a lot of people like Andre Curbelo. a lot of people don't like Andre Curbelo. He's not been playing well for this Illinois squad. They still have Kobe Coburn, and I love this Illinois team. It's weird because I thought I'd have them going really far, but after further examining them, I think Chattanooga is a bad matchup for them, and I'm going to take them over this Illinois team. Houston over UAB is what I'm going to go with next, even though UAB is a very good team with Jelly Walker and his amazing conference tournament that he had. But anyway, we can't bet against Kelvin Sampson in the conference tournament or in any tournament. I know he won it in the American, and I think he's going to do really well, go to the Sweet 16 in the NCAA tournament. TCU is one of the more underrated squads, I think, in this tournament. TCU, a team out of the Big 12. I think they're going to be really good, and then Arizona takes them on as well. No disrespect to Seton Hall, but I think TCU is a bad 8-9 matchup for them. That's it for the first round. Hope you guys enjoyed. Now let's keep it going. Gonzaga, I think, takes care of Memphis, and I think Arkansas takes care of New Mexico State. I think Texas Tech, I know I said I was concerned about them. You'll see when they play this next matchup, maybe. I think Michigan State, though, gets the upset over Duke. I'm not a fan of Duke's bracket. I'm not a fan of Duke per se. This Duke team, I had a lot of worries about them in that UNC game. I know it's just a one-game sample size, but going to the ACC tournament, they got that 1 seed. But Miami, Virginia Tech, those were not great games for them, I would say. I know they beat Miami, and they had another game, which I'm going completely blank on, I believe. But anyway, this Duke team has not been playing great basketball as of late. And I think Michigan State is a team that I love in March, and I think they're going to get hot. I think they get the upset over Duke right here. Moving on down, I think Baylor is going to beat Marquette, and I think UCLA takes care of business in a great game against St. Mary's. Do not sleep on that St. Mary's squad. Purdue and Kentucky. So on this side of the bracket, very non-upsetty. But I think that once you see the rest of the bracket fold out, you're going to see more upsets. Auburn over Miami, Wisconsin over Iowa State, Iowa over Providence. Iowa, a team that won the Big Ten championship. Keegan Murray, like I said, I think is the National Player of the Year, but Jordan Bohannon and company also rounds out a great balanced team. And I think Kansas takes care of San Diego State. Nova over Ohio State, Michigan over Tennessee. You Tennessee fans, I don't think it's going to happen. Rick Barnes is a guy who I think is a top 5 paid coach in college basketball, but seems to really can't get anything strictly done come tournament time. And I think that continues against a Michigan team that just screams a Sweet 16 appearance from me. So I like this. I like the spot for Michigan against a Tennessee team that I'm not super high on. I'll go Houston over Chattanooga and Arizona over Houston. Now to go back, we're now on the Sweet 16. This is where things get interesting. Zaga over Arkansas. I know a lot of people are wanting Arkansas to win this. I think this run comes to an end for JD Note and company, who is a great squad. Don't get it twisted, but I think Gonzaga is just the best team in the country. Best team in the country. And I think Arkansas is going to realize that when they play them in the Sweet 16, but I think they're going to give them a run for their money. Whatever the spread is, I'd probably take Arkansas to cover, but not to outright win. I'll go Texas Tech over Michigan State, even though I think this could be within like 2 points. I really wanted to go Michigan State, but I'm going to explain why I don't think Michigan State's going to win. And I think you guys are not going to like that logic, but I really can't help myself, and we'll get there later. You'll see why we're going to get there later. But Texas Tech, no problem with them being in the Elite Eight based on how good they've been this year under Mark Adams. Defense, great. I think UCLA is a great spot here for Baylor, a Baylor team that was bad in the Big 12 tournament. And again, UCLA, they just bring back their whole roster that we saw last year. And a lot of people don't think this UCLA team is capable of making it run. And I just think they are. Love this spot for them against a Baylor team. And I think Baylor, it's hard to win back-to-back national champions. And look, I don't think anyone's saying they're a national champion, but this Baylor team, I really don't think is going to make the Final Four. They can make the Elite Eight for sure, but I think UCLA gets them right here. And I'll go Kentucky in an unbelievable matchup against Purdue, close to picking Purdue. When you have Travion Williams coming off the bench, you're in for a treat against that team. But I think their defense is what's going to hold them up in a Kentucky team that I don't think anyone should worry about, even after a bad performance Tennessee in the SEC semifinals. I'm going to go Wisconsin over Auburn, and I think Auburn has their struggles. They have not been playing well. Look at their game against Texas A&M. I know it's a hot team, but Bruce Pearl needs to be worried at least about their guard play. I'm not a fan of it in a Wisconsin team that I think Johnny Davis screams takeover game against Auburn here. I like the spot for Wisconsin. And then I think Iowa beats Kansas here. Kansas, one of the most balanced and well-rostered team in the country, led by Bill Self. But the thing about this Kansas team is I think so many people are on them. And I kind of think every year you got to have that team where they go out pretty early. And I think it's Kansas. I mean, Kansas and Baylor out of the not Pac-12, Big 12 is crazy. I mean, we'll see if this happens. I know Kansas fans can be upset by it. And I had Kansas, I think maybe I had them winning it going to the final last time. Times change, things change. That's the beauty of March. And I'm going with an Iowa team that just got hot at the great time. And look, that's why I did not want to go Michigan State, because I don't think 3 out of the 8 teams in the Elite Eight are going to be Big Ten teams. Like, that's nearly, I don't know the math, close to 40%, almost 50%, 37.5%. I think is the correct math. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's that App State diploma right there, baby. So I think Iowa, Wisconsin is the 2 teams I'm most confident in. Yeah, say what you want about Michigan State, but I'm still going to be taking these teams. I think John Rothstein has them as well in the Elite Eight. So I think I'm feeling good about this, not just because he does, but at least have a guy that backs me up there. Nova and Zona, I think here, I'm not going to go crazy here. Arizona is I'll get to Arizona. I want to spend a lot of time talking about them because I have a lot of apologies to say to Arizona fans, but we're now in the Elite Eight. Gonzaga, I think, makes it there for however many years out of the last however many years. They've just been one of the most dominant teams. Mark Few has really built something special there, and I hope he wins it all because in years past, he has not been able to get over that hump. I hope that he's able to this year. So they're in the Final Four. On this side, I think it's Kentucky. UCLA is going to give them a run for their money. I promise you that if this matchup happens in the Elite Eight. But Kentucky, John Calipari, one of the best coaches to ever do it. He's going to lead this Kentucky team to another Final Four. This Kentucky team, we had their worries about them. I mean, I thought they beat Auburn outright at Auburn. I wish we would have got a second game played in Kentucky, but we didn't. I think Kentucky will get to the Final Four and have the last lap in the SEC. Wisconsin, I think, beats Iowa. Do I? I'm gonna go Iowa, actually. I'm gonna go Iowa just because of how good they've been recently. I think this will be an unbelievable game, but they've just been so good lately where I'm gonna go Iowa. And then on this top side, Arizona. I have Zona, Gonzaga in the national championship. But let me just talk about this Final Four for a second. I would love this Final Four because you have, I think, easily the 2 best teams in the country in Arizona and Gonzaga. A Kentucky team who a lot of people think is in that 3, 4, 5 spot. I know they had a bad game against Tennessee. And you have a little bit of a Cinderella team in Iowa out of the Big Ten, which is really weird. I would be fine with this Final Four. And then this is the ultimate Final Four. Arizona, I am really sorry. I really did not. I'm going to be honest with you. And I'm not saying I know everything now because there are a lot of guys out there who know a lot more college basketball than me. But I did not know a lot about this Arizona team. I mean, I know I did. I mean, Benedict Mathurin was great. Everyone knows who that is, right? But this Arizona team, I just did not know a lot about in my last predictions video. And I said they were kind of overrated. Why did I say that? I just kind of felt like Arizona was a team that go out early in March Madness, kind of because of their name. But when you watch this team play, they are the most physical, the fastest, and the most pleasingly watched team in college basketball. I watched them in the Pac-12 tournament, and they were so freaking good. It was unbelievable. This Arizona team, I'm so sorry to use Arizona fans, because this is the national championship, the 2 best teams. We saw it with Baylor, and we saw it with Gonzaga last year. And I think we're getting a rematch of the 2 best teams in the country. And I'm going to go with Zaga close, though. 73-70. Tommy Lloyd has done a great job. And, obviously he worked with Gonzaga. But I think Mark Few finally gets it done. That's the one worry I have with Arizona is it's Tommy Lloyd's first year. But I'm not saying that's a bad thing. And I think they're going to get to the national championship regardless. So, yeah, that'll be a great final. I think it'll be a great Final Four, but this was my bracket. What do you guys think? I think I spent a lot more time than I usually do just to go over. Here's what I had. And now, guys, remember in the description, I'm going to have that article I had for the Colorado State Michigan game on Odds Checker that I want you guys to check out. Great article I read. But I want you guys also to join the bracket challenge that I'll have. Remember, however many people finish ahead of me is how many chicken nuggets I have to eat. You guys see my bracket now. Mix it up, have the same picks. It's gonna be a lot of fun. But yeah, link of that will be in the description. Thank you guys again for all this continuous support on the March Madness content. Let me know what you want me to do. I can do a Sweet 16 bracket when that gets out. I could do my reactions. We could do maybe even like a live stream for the national championship game. Like, so whatever you guys want. So thank you guys for watching. That's my bracket. And until next week, whatever you guys want, I will see you guys later.